I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. You won't do shit. Just stick and move. And just waking you up and saying, now stick and move. Keep your hands up.
We're talking about the biggest upset, top 3 biggest upsets in boxing history. So let's get right into it. No BS. Sam, hit me. What is your number 3 greatest upset of all time?
Look, I've been doing a lot of research, and there has been tons of upsets. A lot of them that, especially in the history, like back in the 30s and all that, with Henry Armstrong and Schmeling and all them guys, right? But I'm gonna give you 3 of the shockers that I experienced in my life. My life, and there's been a lot. I mean, if I really start thinking back, then I can remember some more. But these are the ones at the top of my head. Julio Cesar Chavez. Julio Cesar Chavez, at least where we're, here where we're from, the, Hispanic heritage, all that. I mean, the guy was the king of Mexico. He owned Las Vegas. I mean, the guy had a huge draw.
Of course.
This is my number 3 upset. And I don't think anybody saw it coming. When he lost to Frankie Randall.
Yeah.
Dude, I was in shock. I didn't even pay attention to that fight. I remember going to work and I was like, who's he fighting? Oh, yeah. Like, it don't matter. Who is he? I mean, Chavez was just beating the hell out of everybody. Next thing you know, somebody tells me, I could be wrong. Anybody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but Chavez hits the canvas.
Right.
I think he was dropped. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Chavez lost to somebody that had, if I recall correctly, he had a left hook that Chavez just could not see. Was just landing and landing and landing. And Chavez lost, bro. And it was a huge shocker. Frankie Randall defeats Julio Cesar Chavez, bro. That was an amazing. I had to go back and see it.
Right. Well, dude, that was the fight. I think it was a split decision, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
bro.
It was.
Hey guys, Trey here. If you love today's controversial episode and you want to see our channel grow, please drop a like, subscribe, and also comment. Sam and I are always going back and forth with those commenters on our controversial topics and opinions, and we love it so much. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe, most importantly, so our channel can grow and we can give you guys the best content as possible. Sam and I were always uploading multiple videos a week, and we want to continue doing that, and we need your help. So go ahead and subscribe, guys. And most importantly, like I always say, don't forget to stick and move, baby.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. You won't do shit. Just stick and move. And just waking you up and saying, now stick and move. Keep your hands up.
But it was, 89-0-1, right, for Chavez.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for that big 90. I remember we're waiting for that big 90-0.
Yes.
Beautiful number, 90-0. But here's the thing, bro. If I'm not mistaken, bro, Frankie Randall, I think there's something about fighting Chavez. I know a lot of our commenters, for some reason, hate Cesar Chavez. And that's okay. Like you said, you and I grew up in South Texas, very huge Mexican boxing fan base, and you and I grew up loving them. Fighters, after they fight them, whether they win or lose or draw, even with Whitaker, they're never the same, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, bro, but Randall dominates a fight. Whitaker dominates the fight. It's like the little that Chavez connects on is enough to change the way they boxed forever. I think Randall lost the majority of his fights. I think he lost like 10 or 15 fights after that.
Yeah.
But I remember that fight too, bro. It was also the same. I know I've said it over and over in our podcast about Chavez. You know, we would get together with the relatives, you know, and the people down the street to watch Chavez. It was like a ceremony.
Yeah, it was a
like
holiday.
it was a holiday for us, kind of like CANELO
Mhm.
is today, whether you love him or hate him. And watching that fight also with Frankie Randall, I remember watching it. I didn't dismiss it, kind of like you and other people did, but I remember it was just quiet.
Yeah,
That entire fight, bro. But
that was a
yeah,
shocker. That was a shocker.
that was. I know there was a lot of controversy on one of the cards that gave it to Chavez, but everybody blames Chavez, and we've talked about this too. It's always the promoter, guys. It's never the boxer. Okay, if there's corruption or somebody dodging, has nothing to do with the fighter. It's always the promotion, but we always throw it on the fighter, and I guess that's a flaw of being a fan, you know. But I down with that. Chavez, yeah, bro. Randall Chavez, you know, Chavez redeemed himself against him immediately after. But yeah, bro, that's an excellent number 3, brother. I'm down with that.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
I wanted to go old school, but then I have 2 old school ones. I wanted to talk about Fitzy Zivic and Armstrong because, you know, that was a dirty fighter fighting a guy that's a consensus top fighter of all time in Henry or Hank Armstrong. But I'm actually going little storytelling time, brother. I remember the first time you and I hung out after work one time. And I remember you came to my apartment and we had a crap load of people. It was a big old house party. and it was between Corey Sanders and Vladimir Klitschko.
Oh, dude. He was not on my list, but he was I wrote it down, man. Yeah,
dude,
Klitschko.
you remember watching that fight, bro?
Yeah.
I remember nobody was watching. To the fans that want to know more about Sam and I, this is how far back him and I go and how much in love of boxing we were. We had like over 100 people at this little apartment party, and Sam and I were the only ones watching this fight.
Yeah.
Sam gets up, he goes, "I'm gonna go get a beer." I'm like, "Go for it." It's barely the first round, and the first minute and a half is just boxers usually just sizing each other up. And all of a sudden, Sanders connects with that left, bro, because he was this weird southpaw fighter. And I'm like, bro, Klitschko is down. And at the time, if I'm not mistaken, Klitschko had been on his last 24 fights, 22 of the 24, 21 of the 24 fights, something like that.
He was 40-1 at that fight.
Yeah, yes. But he had been on a 21 or 22 out of 24, 25 fights, something like that. TKO, KO streak, bro. And I remember you coming running to me to go watch this. And Klitschko gets up wobbling. Sanders, even caught by surprise himself, goes back at him, knocks him down again just before the bell rings in the first round. And you and I, Sam, we're just like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah,
Sam
he couldn't stop it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sam and I were so loud that everybody else came into the house. They never even heard of Klitschko before, but Sam and I were trying to tell everybody what was happening. And when that second round happened, not even 5-10 seconds into that second round, it goes down again. He gets up, goes down again 10 seconds after that, TKO. It's over, brother. It's over.
Yeah.
Sanders, if I'm not mistaken, he lost the fight, the round before. I mean, the fight before against Rahman. But bro, rest in peace to Corey Sanders, bro.
That's right. He was a hero.
Yeah, he died about 7 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, bro, what made it special was that it was an early knockout, bro. It didn't go to the wire, it didn't go all the way down. There was no controversy. And I even think Klitschko said that was the hardest punch I've ever felt in my career, that left hand. his brother Vitali would vindicate him the
Yes.
next time. But dude, that set back. Because we were waiting for that Lewis Klitschko fight. Remember that? When Lewis was
Yes.
always flirting with retirement. And that held it back, man. That pushed it back. And we're like, dude, are we ever gonna see the Lewis Klitschko fight? And it took forever for it to happen. So, anyways, that is my number 3. Your
Wow,
thoughts?
great one. No, that was I remember that fight and I remember that moment. And it was a punch. I don't know if it was straight left hand. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a punch that Klitschko just could not block, bro. It just landed at will. I mean, it just landed and it just destroyed him piece by piece, busted up his face, and he had no answer for it. He couldn't block it, and that was a huge upset, man.
Yeah,
That was huge.
Yeah.
I remember that. Good number 3.
All right, talk to me. What is your number 2, brother?
My number 2. Oh man, it's hard to judge the number 2 and the number 1, but I'm gonna go for it. George Foreman versus Michael Moore, bro.
Dude.
George Foreman, Michael Moore. Michael Moore, 26 years old, bro.
Right.
He was I got his record here. I mean, he was 35-0 and 30 KOs. Michael Moore. George Foreman was already 72-4 and 67 KOs. All right, 26 versus a 45-year-old. I mean, there was just no way in hell this was gonna, I felt sorry for Foreman. I was like, why is he doing this? What is he trying to prove? Obviously well, some people say, he needed the money, blah, blah, blah. Bro, I remember that fight second per second, minute by minute. I remember that fight. And Teddy Atlas did what he could to help out Michael Moore.
I remember
that. He did whatever he could, man. But Foreman knocking out Michael Moore, bro, it just completely just took I remember that, man. He knelt down, he prayed, Foreman, and it was just an amazing, amazing night how he pulled it off, man. Slowly but surely, Foreman just slowly got it in until he finally clipped him, and Michael Moore went down. And when he went down, you just saw all the blood coming out of his mouth.
Right.
Just completely buzzed. Yeah. That is my number 2, bro. What do you think about that?
Dude, to tell you how much of a boxing family I come from, I remember watching that fight. And you know who I watched it with, man? My mother, bro.
Wow.
My mom. She loved watching George Foreman because she, it was the old man coming back. And he already been fighting for a couple of years. I think he came back in 87, 88, if I'm not mistaken. He was just fighting, regular guys, nothing impressive. But he was already late into his career. He took that 10-year hiatus when he had his religious awakening, if I'm not mistaken. And he comes back, fought a couple of tomato cans, like you and I like to call it. But I remember watching that fight with my mom. I normally watched it with my dad, but my dad, I think he was at work or something like that. And my mom and I were watching the fight, and we couldn't believe what was happening because Michael Moore was he was the champ.
Dude, he had beaten Holyfield too.
I was about to say that. Yeah, beaten Holyfield. And when he won and got on his knees to pray, I remember seeing my mom like crying, brother. Crying. Yeah. And my mom's the biggest Ali fan, but it was cool seeing somebody from that generation cross over almost 15 years later, and just it answered all the questions. How would the older boxers do against the boxers of today or at that time? And it was just a cool moment, bro. I have them here on my notes, and I'm going to explain why they are not on my notes. So that's a hint that they're not. Foreman versus Moore is not my number 2 or my number 1. Considering it was a great memory to me, I can't do it because my number 2, bro, is Randolph Turpin versus Sugar Ray Robinson, bro. Now look, old school fight. I know our YouTuber guys, for the most part, 95% of them don't really care about that era. But look, bro, Sugar Ray Robinson, man, he was 129 wins, one loss, two draws at the time. And here is the kicker. Just like Cesar Chavez, my man, he was on an 89 win streak, brother. Okay. He in this time, bro, he goes on a UK circuit. I think he was on the last fight of fighting seven British fighters. And check this out, bro. In those seven fights, he did all seven in 5 or 6 weeks, bro. Imagine that, brother. Fighting seven
Mm-hmm.
times in a month and a half. And before he fought Turpin, I mean, it was such a big uh undercard. I mean, I'm sorry, a big fight because Sugar Ray Robinson was the guy. He had just fought 10 days before, and here he goes fighting Turpin, and Turpin wins on decision, 15 rounder. That's what they did back then. The Associated Press, if I'm not mistaken, had it 9-4 to two draws in that fight. But it was a huge upset, and you know it was one of those where a lot of gamblers, this is the mafia time, would lose a lot of money, and it was a big deal. So Sugar Ray Robinson, Turpin, talked a lot about in the history books, ended that 89 win streak. And after that, Sugar Ray Robinson would go on a tear again. And it just goes to show you how those old school boxers, bro, I mean, anything could have happened. So that's why I have it my number two. Turpin versus
Wow.
Sugar Ray Robinson. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's good. I was reading about that too, man. I was
Hmm.
reading about that fight earlier when we talked about the topic for today. I started doing a little research and I saw that, man. That is crazy how all those fights he accumulated in what? In 6 weeks?
Yeah, bro.
Something like that. That is insane, man. Good, a good
I
number
would
two.
I would love to say before we get to your number one, I would love to say, bro, that he was tired. He fought 6 fights in 2 months, almost 2 months, right? Dude, they were all doing that. You know what I'm saying? They were all tired, bro. But what makes it more impressive is that he was 89-0 going into that. I mean, he had a couple of losses before, like I said, but he was on an 89 match bout winning streak, brother. For a
Wow.
guy fighting that often, come on, bro. Come on.
Hmm.
All right. So what is your number one? Talk to me. Go ahead.
This is the one that rang throughout the entire world, bro. All right, it's a popular one. It's a popular. I'm not taking a deep dive. You know, there's a popular one, but it would just it changed the landscape of boxing.
I did.
My number one was when James Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson.
A
Dude,
hundred.
that was a shocker beyond shockers. Unbelievable. Couldn't believe it, bro. Some guy that out of nowhere, at least for me, that I guess I should have paid more attention to, um, just completely knocks out Mike Tyson, bro. The guy the Iron Man, the Kid Dynamite, the baddest man on the planet, and he just gets KO'd. Um, it just, I mean, it hit headlines all over the world, bro. That's how
Right.
big it was, and it
Right.
was a huge upset, and that's the day I said to myself, anybody can lose, bro.
Right.
Anybody can lose, no matter how bad you are. You can lose,
Hmm.
and it happened, man. That's my number one. What do you think about
There,
that?
there have been very few fights, bro, that has shifted. Like all these are big upsets. Don't get me wrong, but very few fights where it just shifts the narrative
Yeah,
of boxing. You can go with, like I said, Zivic versus Armstrong. You can go with like what you Sugar Ray Robinson and Turpin, right? Or you can even go when Ali beat George Foreman. That's
yes,
that was nobody wanted Ali to fight that fight. And
yeah,
of course, Douglas beating Tyson. Those are the monumental ones that shifted boxing forever. Because we always thought nobody on planet Earth can ever beat Mike Tyson, which is why you and I talk about him all the time, and why Tyson is so relevant today. Look, he's also that's also my number one. I cannot argue with that, but because I had a feeling you were going to go there, and I was hoping you would, or else our validation as a podcast would have been over. Give you a 1B. So just for reference, my one is also Tyson versus Douglas. But to throw in a little fuel to the fire, I'm going to change my number one. And I'm going to go Lennox Lewis versus Hasim Rahman.
Oh, that was my number two. That was my 1B.
Yeah.
That was my 1B. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, I have a story to this. And my current girl won't like me talking about this story, but I remember I was with an old girlfriend. Long story short, Lennox Lewis was unbeatable before this guy. Okay, yes, he lost to Oliver McCall, fine. I think he had a draw earlier as well, but he was on this rampage, unbeatable. Nobody could beat him, and he was kind of a boring fighter, in my opinion, besides his first fight with Holyfield. But I remember I was with this girl, and she was like, hey, my brother ordered the fight. Let's go watch it. And I'm like, sweet, let's go do it. But, you know, the undercard is taking forever. And I was like, her and I we went out to the backyard or something like that. And all of a sudden, we're there talking, having a good time. I think we're hanging out with her little brother, not the older brother. And her older brother comes out, dude, Lewis got knocked out. And we're like, what? We go inside and we're there just watching the replay. And Rahman is just celebrating like he just won the $1 billion lottery ticket, which he did pretty much. It wasn't until the next week where I saw the rematch, or I'm sorry, the rewatch that they do.
The replay.
Bro, Rahman, the replay. Rahman dominated that fight, bro. He kept on peppering him. And Rahman, like Evander Holyfield, was his chiseled out guy, ripped up. And dude, he just kept on hitting him clean. I remember he hit him clean like about 30 seconds before that knockout, wobbling Lennox Lewis. You know, it's why I believe if Lennox Lewis fought Ali would handle him easily because he had a low guard. He would often pull his guard down.
That was what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, but that's a conversation for another day. And Rahman just catches him, bro. Just catches him. And now you could argue that's also one of those fights that shifted the narrative on boxing. So I have Rahman versus Lewis, my number one. Any final thoughts on that?
No, that was my 1B actually, and that goes to show on our other episode that we did about when we talked about Lennox Lewis is he wouldn't time his distance. Like he couldn't. There was a distance issue that Lennox had where he was in wars where he would get caught, and that one he dropped his hands and boom, he got caught, man, and it was over. Right. And that was his only downfall. But he was one of the best heavyweight boxers there was at the time. But yeah, great number one, man.
Are there any bouts that you left out that you wanted to put in?
Yes, there is. And I remember this one. I was a kid, of course. But I remember this one. There was no way I thought that Sugar Ray Leonard could beat Hagler. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was no... In my mind, remember, in my opinion, I just thought Hagler was too much. He was too much of a brawler. He just hit too hard. Nothing could hurt him. And I thought that Sugar Ray was more of a showman than he was, to get in a real battle with Hagler. No disrespect to Sugar Ray, one of the best boxers in the world ever. But a lot of people did actually consider that an upset, So that was one of my upsets too.
Also, people consider that one of the biggest robberies. I mean, what's his name? Hagler retired after that fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
One that I wanted to put in was Sonny Liston versus Ali. Ali was the kid. Sonny Liston was the boogeyman, left-handed killer. I also wanted to throw in Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. I remember that one was a big upset too. But yeah, man, this was a great conversation. You have any final thoughts before we sign out?
No, just I love the episodes that we're doing, and we're gonna just we're gonna keep putting out content that people want to hear. So if there's anybody that y'all have any suggestions, let us know in the comment section, and we'll do an episode. Pick a fight, we'll do it, we'll watch it, and we'll give it our opinions about it. Subscribe and like and share our channel, please.
Yeah, guys, we're uploading twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. So make sure you like and subscribe, tell your friends about it, and like Sam said, just keep on commenting. We like to comment back. If you get a message from me, the Stick and Move podcast, you're talking to Trey. If it's from Stick and Move Sam, I think you have another handle, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, just this one.
All right, Stick and Move Sam. That's obviously Sam. Other than that, guys, until next time, and like I always say, don't forget to stick and move, baby.